Hello friends, welcome to yet another video from Kulture Katha. In my last video on Pitru Paksha, I had talked about some ideas that our ancient Indians had on the harsh reality called death and what happens after, and on how these ideas changed with time. Death obviously was the most fearful aspect of life, and not surprisingly, man wanted to conquer it. He wanted to become immortal like the gods. And the desire to achieve immortality was common across world cultures. Everyone wanted to live on forever. In this video, I'm going to be telling you a few stories that narrate how ancient Indians' idea of immortality changed over time. Let me start with the ideas expressed in our most ancient text, the Rigveda. The Rigvedic man believed that the gods in heavens were immortal because they consumed what is called soma, which is actually an extract from a plant. The shoot of the plant was pressed using a mortar and a pestle to extract its juice. Today, knowledge of this plant is lost to us, although we do have several theories about them. The juice extracted from the shoot of this plant, scholars say, may have had hallucinogenic properties. The ninth mandala of the Rigveda has several hymns dedicated to Soma. In these hymns, the Vedic poet proclaims how he receives his insights and inspiration from consuming the Soma. So in a way, the Vedic man experienced momentary immortality, deathlessness for a short while when he was under the influence of the Soma. He experienced ecstasy, extreme happiness, and for a while felt one with the gods. Yet another rich source for ancient India's ideas about immortality is the Mahabharata, which narrates several stories that deal with this idea. The most popular one, of course, is the story of the churning of the ocean. This story actually goes a step back and tries to explain how the gods got the Soma and became immortal. In this story, which I'm sure is familiar to you all, the ocean is churned using Mount Mandara as the churning rod and the snake king Vasuki as the rope. With the efforts of both the Devas and the Asuras, the nectar of immortality called Soma or Amrita is obtained. Both the Asuras and the Devas of course want a share of it. Vishnu, however, takes the form of a beautiful damsel called Mohini and ensures that Amrita is given only to the Devas, while cleverly denying the Asuras the elixir of immortality. Some scholars suggest that this story of churning the ocean to obtain Amrita is inspired by the Rigvedic idea of the Soma plant being pressed with a mortar and a pestle to obtain its juice. Soma became Amrita. Amrita, the word which means undying. In any case, this Samudramanthan story tells us how gods got the gift of eternal life. But what about the Asuras? Were they totally vanquished now that the Devas were immortal and they were not? Not really. Their guru Shukracharya obtained a special mantra from Lord Shiva called the Mrita Sanjeevani mantra that could bring the dead back to life. And so the Asuras could never be vanquished. Every time an Asura was killed by a Deva, Shukracharya revived him. This worried the Devas, of course. So they sent Kacha, who was the son of their guru Brihaspati, to Shukracharya to learn the secret craft of Sanjeevani, which Kacha eventually did, but he was cursed never to be able to use it on anyone, although he could teach it to others. Okay, so now the Devas and the Asuras both had obtained the secret to immortality. But what about the humans? How do they become immortal? How do we become immortal? And not just momentarily under the influence of Soma, but forever. We have yet another story, this time from the Valmiki Ramayana, where a mortal king named Satyavrata, better known as Trishanku, desired to go to the heavens in his mortal body. which in other words meant that he wanted to keep his physical body forever and thus attain a bodily deathless state. Unfortunately for him, his desire could never be fulfilled despite the enormous efforts of sage Vishwamitra. The gods simply refused entry to the heavens to Trishanku in his mortal form. Only the dead or the Pitrus could enter the heavens. Eventually, Trishanku had to settle for an alternate heaven different from the one inhabited by the gods. And his heaven came to be called the Trishanku Swarg. What does this story really tell us? I think it tells us just one thing, that immortality was never about the physical body. Remember how Kacha was cursed never to be able to use the Sanjeevani mantra to bring dead people back alive? Clearly, these stories seem to tell us that physical mortality cannot be wished away. All material things were bound to perish one day. If immortality was not about the body, what else was it about? We find the answer to this question in a story from the Kathopanishad, which tells the heroic tale of a young boy named Nachiketas. Nachiketas once followed Yama, the lord of death, to his abode to learn about death and what happens after from none other than Yama himself. Yama tells him that the body of any living being is perishable, but the Atman or the self does not die. It takes on a new body every time we die, and so we are born on this earth again and again to repeatedly go through the cycle of birth and death or samsara. But there is a way out of this vicious cycle of samsara, Yama tells Nachiketas, and that is through the realization of the self or Atman as something separate from the body. And that knowledge of the self leads to moksha, the state of no births and deaths, no pain and misery, only eternal happiness, the state where you become immortal and one with the gods. Finally, it seemed, the Upanishadic seers had cracked the secret code to immortality. Friends, all these stories may have become crystallized and may have been told in various contexts across different timelines, but their central idea is unbroken and convey man's eternal desire to overcome death. And we continue to pursue this elusive idea of immortality even today in our pursuit of a vaccine for the deadly coronavirus. Friends, hope you enjoyed listening to these stories today. If you did, please do like the video and share it generously with your friends and relatives on your WhatsApp groups and other social media accounts. And of course, remember to subscribe to the channel if you have not done so yet. And if you are already a subscriber, please remember to press the bell icon to receive notifications on new video uploads. So meet you all once again soon with yet another video. Till then, it's tata, bye bye, take care.
Asato ma satgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma